Hello everyone and welcome to Position Specific and welcome back to the Coaching Journey 2, which is with an under-15s youth development phase team in the USA. So we're up to week 9 now, and in week 9 we have a game review versus Utah USA, and we've got 2 sessions to run through, and then we'll just give you an idea of the plan as we move into the week where we travel to Hawaii for the regional tournament and how that's going to work and what that's going to look like. But let's get into week 9 straight away. Okay, so let's have a look at week 9 in a little bit more depth and what's coming up for you. So as mentioned, we've got that game review against Utah USA. So we're just going to look at some in-possession performance problems that we had during that particular game. We're going to look at attacking organisation and playing out. We're going to look at attacking organisation and playing in. And we're going to look at some attacking transition moments as well. And obviously we'll match that together with the metrics and the stats that we do around game analysis. At the end of that, we've got session 8 to show you, which is all around attacking organisation and playing in, and in particular thinking about that supply, playing around, which is an immediate kind of reaction to what happened in the USA game, but I'll explain that when we get to it. And then we've got session 9 to show you as well, which is an in and out of possession practice or session around some IDPs and some attacking set play. So the IDPs are some individual and unit defending and some 1v1 side and back pressure for the attacking players. And then we've got some attacking corners to go through and show you as well. But session 9 is actually our last session before we head to Hawaii. So we just kind of touch up on some little bits and pieces before we head out there for the tournament. But let's get into that game review with Utah USA. Okay, so if you can remember back to week number 8 when we talked about the game plan and I explained a little bit about previous games that we've played against this particular team. So we played a game a couple of seasons ago against them where we did really well. We won the game quite comfortably and we dominated the midfield areas. We then played a game against them where they changed their system to a 4-3-1-2 or a 4-diamond-2, if you want to call it that. Which causes a few problems and made the game a lot more tighter than the one before it, and we ended up losing that game quite closely. I think it was 2-1, so we were we then played them again in the Utah Platform League, where they attempted to play the 4-diamond-2 again, which we managed to switch properly this time, change systems properly this time, match them up correctly. With a 3-3-1-3, and we managed to win that game 3-1. So it was just interesting to understand what they might do in this particular game and what they might come with. As it turns out, they just came with their usual 4-2-3-1. So we didn't have to do any kind of system change, and we didn't have to do any sort of changes to personnel, etc. Because obviously the system matchup was positive. So us playing our 4-3-3 against their 4-2-3-1 was perfect. But what happened in this particular game was quite interesting, especially from the previous game, which was we were really good in. We weren't quite as smooth in this particular game in attacking organisation, in particular playing out and playing in, and we were actually in moments really good at kind of controlling the game and moving the ball and switching the play. But then there was moments when after the switch of play, we just struggled to find ways into the opposition's half. Not huge issues. And as we get to the stats, you'll see that we still did okay. But we just, as I said, we weren't quite as smooth in this particular game as we have been in the past. So it's just something to be aware of and something that we'll talk to the boys about as well. But let's have a look at some of those issues in this particular game, and we'll have a quick look through some of the issues that we had. So, in particular, like I mentioned before, there was some really good moments in terms of and I'll show you one at the end of this. But from our own throw in here, and this kind of seemed to be a little bit about it. So as you can see, we're in full control. We can move the ball from one side of the pitch to the other. We're just trying to move the opposition around and find ways forward. This particular moment here now, so if I pause it here now, so this particular player now, as you can see, he's got so much space in terms of obviously when we're playing out, we're obviously trying to get into the opposition's half in a controlled kind of, with a controlled pass or a controlled dribble, get into the opposition half in a controlled state. If he has a scan, or even if his body shape's a little bit better and he can see what's behind him, then that's an opportunity for him to turn. And as you can see in the bottom corner of the picture there, our fullback's already on his way, so it could potentially be a 2 versus 1 against the opposition fullback. But as it turns out, he didn't scan, and he played it back, so he kept it safe, which is fine. Centre half then comes into the area, realises that he hasn't really got much on, or he hasn't seen anything, so we end up switching the ball across the pitch, which is fine. Trying to use that weak side that the other way. And then we had loads of those moments in this particular game where there was not necessarily a need for that pass. We probably could have come back across the pitch, or we could have even played into our wide forward, who's actually free on the far side. But we just had a lot of those moments where we played into people under pressure, and obviously a bit of confusion there between where it was going to. But we ended up losing the ball in this particular moment, and giving the opposition a chance to get in control of the game. So that was quite disappointing, with those like little things like that happened. Another couple of things that happened as well today, I'll just pause it there. So as you can see here, this is a goal kick. And we've played to our right centre-back, and our right centre-back has took a touch and he's about to play to our left centre-back. But if you just take a picture of where the number 9 actually is, and we talk to players about this all the time, so as you see, he's just about to switch it, but he's not really affecting the number 9 in terms of, like, the number 9 still got the same amount of distance to run to either him with the ball or to our other centre-back. So in those particular moments, we try and say to the centre-backs, look, just draw the 9 in a little bit closer to the ball, or take your touch towards him. Because when you do play to the opposite centre-back then, if it's still available, then you'll give your teammate the most amount of time. But as you can see, like, there's no distance difference but for the number 9. The centre-back who's receiving it's not scanned as well, so he's not seeing the pressure from the opposition wide forward. And we just end up in a little bit of a panic here, and our centre-half on the ball now just ends up clearing it into kind of no man's land, etc. So it was, and we had moments like that which we're usually a lot better in. A final one again, so again it's a case of so we're travelling forward in this particular moment, realise he hasn't got a forward option. That's a little bit better as he's giving his teammates some time and space. On the ball again here now, so again could just roll it down the side into our number 7 who's got loads of space, which is fine. We've switched it across the pitch again, actually doing well in terms of the patience, working the number 9. Again, opportunity now, so he's got onto the ball, starts running with it, not really got a plan in mind, just running with it, loses control, and then obviously loses possession of the ball. And we just had lots of those little moments in the game where it was either a sloppy pass when we crossed the halfway line, or it was someone dribbling with it, not kind of having a little bit of a plan and losing control. And then the previous one, which I showed you, which we usually are better in, is kind of like working the number 9 and making sure that he's got a bigger distance to run between one centre back and the other. So again, just not as smooth as we usually are in these particular moments. But when it was good, it was good. And as you'll see from the stats when we get to that point in the metrics, we had lots of good moments. So good little bit of patience here in terms of we just won the ball back. So attacking transition's good. Get away with this little bit here. But apart from that, so again, bit of patience, get control of the ball. Trying to, obviously, again, the goal is to cross the halfway line in a controlled state. So using the goalkeeper, using the width of the pitch, switching it across the pitch, staying in control of the moments. It's now that when you're moving the ball across the pitch, can you just wait for that right time to go into the opposition's half? So brilliant little bit of play there from the centre back to allow the switch again. Now this is the good moment here. So we've got a 3v2 now. Or even a 2v1 with our centre-back, full-back and wide forward, which we could try and exploit in terms of like their wide forward and their full-back. As you can see, our full-back's moved on the inside, which is fine, so it's just keep creating a little bit of space for our left wide forward to drop down a little bit. I'd like to see from the centre-back here, so we always talk about obviously driving towards opposition players and fixing them and giving your teammate the most amount of space, like the centre-back one that we've just talked through. But as you can see here, the centre-back probably plays the pass a little bit too early. Look, he could travel a couple of other steps with that and really give the left wide forward a problem. But plays a little bit early, and now the left wide forward's just got an opportunity to close down, which is fine. But again, managed to keep possession, staying in a controlled state. Good little cross over the halfway line for our centre-back, and obviously now we're into a good little bit of opportunity to play in. Again, look at the territory we've gained from our goalkeeper, from obviously where our penalty area is. And managed to get into the opposition's half. And this kind of moves on to the next bit that I'm going to talk about in terms of a performance problem about playing in, because we had moments like this. So good possession in the opposition's half and a bit of a nothing pass into an area which is like obviously easy for their centre-back to pick up. So it was just, again, and we had lots more moments like that in terms of playing in, which we appreciate. Playing in is the hardest part, getting into the opposition's penalty area and creating chances on goal. But you had time and space, and we've just got into the opposition's half, and it's again one of those, can we continue to do what we've just been doing in our own half in the opposition's half, where we're switching the play, we're waiting for the right time to try and penetrate, whether that's through, around or over. It just seemed like a little bit of a rush pass, and sometimes I think that's because we've had a lot of passes in our half, and we get into the opposition's half, and players think, right, okay, we've got to create something now immediately, and that's not always the case. So we just, in terms of playing out, it wasn't a disaster. We just had lots of little moments like that where we weren't as smooth as we usually are. Okay, so let's have a look now at, obviously we've looked at the playing in, let's have a look now at the playing out now. Let's have a look now at the playing in moments that we could have been better in. And like I said, it was a little bit like that where we were a little bit rushed in moments where we didn't need to be a little bit rushed and could have played in. So again, and this is kind of leading on to the next session that we're going to do. So we've got good possession in the opposition's half. Ball goes into our wide forward here. Our fullback comes and joins in, which is great. So, and obviously we talk about our side triangles on each side of the pitch and our side rotations, which is our fullback, our wide forward, and one of our central attacking midfield players. So as you can see here, we've got a 2v2 in terms of our wide forward and our fullback coming to join in, and obviously we'd like to get one of our attacking midfielders over again as well, either to create a 3v2 or to have a 3v3 against the opposition if their midfielder comes over as well, but still opportunities or ideas to outplay them, even in that 3v3 and that 3v2. And we got into these areas like really well in the game, but we just didn't quite do anything in those moments and in these areas. And you'll see from this here as well. So ball here, in terms of our fullback on there, now we're just looking now, because it's a 2v2, we're just looking at our wide forward who's just laid the ball off to our fullback to make an attacking beyond run past the opposition into the space down the side, and then he's got an opportunity to probably dribble into the box and maybe cut it back to one of our players. But as you can see, just a little bit static, and we end up playing the pass and he's not ready for it, and they end up tidying up and clearing up. But we just had lots of little moments like that playing in, where good opportunity to get into the penalty area and not quite made the run. Other little moments as well, like this particular one here. So we get into the opposition's half, which is good. Get a little bit lucky with this, but a good reaction. And again, it's just, and you'll see again here. So we've got, this is our centre midfield player on the ball. This is our wide forward on the ball. Our attacking centre midfield player is a little bit wider in the wide channel. We'd like to get our fullback involved in that, but even though we've got a 2v1 against a fullback, which we use really well. So again, gaining a little bit more territory, which is great. And again, just a little bit of a nothing pass in terms of easy for them to cut out. Good reaction in terms of defensive transition, win the ball back, play back into the same area. Again, now, can our fullback's just coming into picture now? Can he come and get involved? You see, as it's a 2v2 there, can he come and get involved and make it a 3v2? Or can we have a little bit of better movement from our attacking midfield player, where we can maybe like outplay that 2v2 and get an opportunity to get in the box? But again, we don't really do too much again, end up coming back. So this is the 3v3 now. Which we could probably stay in that area and again try and outplay, but we don't. We come back out to the centre half again. Good possession now, good opportunity now to get something going. Again, can we have more movement from our centre forward? Can we have a little bit more movement from our number 9 in terms of again making that run where we might create some more space? Can our fullback come and get involved? In the end, our wide forward just ends up crossing it with not the greatest of quality. And again, obviously we could have attacked it a little bit better, but we just had lots of little moments like that. But on the flip side of it, we did have some good moments as well. And one's coming up now from our throw-in, where we managed to throw it into our number 9. Who does a little bit, who obviously really good in terms of the back pressure, 1v1 back pressure we talk about, manages to wriggle free and get a shot on goal. So we had plenty of little moments like that, and even that was a particular one where our goal came from as well, which is here now. So our goal came from that as well, again, where we've worked it out of that particular area, and obviously the quality and a strike in terms of the playing in was fantastic. But like I said, it wasn't a disaster, and you'll see from the stats and the metrics that we pull up in a minute. However, we weren't as smooth as we usually are, especially in the playing out moments. And we appreciate that playing in is really hard, but we weren't quite as productive as we usually are in those moments as well. But something for us to think about, and something for us to work on, especially in the next session. Okay, so finally, we're just going to have a quick look at attacking transition performance problem, which again, it's that fight that we have. Between possessing the ball and keeping it, or when to progress it in that decision making again, you'll see from the stats in a second. It's quite interesting how we're really good when we keep it and we possess it and we complete those 3 passes we talk about in attacking transition. Then we're really good and we keep it and we get into our organised state, and we do quite well in playing out and playing in. But again, like, it's just those moments where we don't. And we have lots of little moments, like I'm about to show you now, where it's just obviously the decision making is possess it or progress it. And obviously sometimes we get into these situations now where we win possession of the ball here in a second. This first one now, so not the best of touches, gives that first one away when we could have kept it. This one again now, which is our fullback, again keeps the first one, keeps the second one, which is fine. We're in a little bit of control. Now we just, again, so it's those moments there now where we're just looking to start to work the opposition like we would do if we're playing out, and work the ball across the pitch and moments to fly through it. I mean, the pass is probably on I assume he's playing into our number 9 in that particular moment. Just gets it wrong. But in my opinion, he doesn't need to force that one because we've got in control. Let's just relax, get control, have a little bit of patience, and then work it out from there. But as I said, we give it away and obviously almost end up on the end of a counter attack, but give the opposition a throw in our half anyway. Another similar moment here now. So obviously opposition in possession again. When we eventually win it on the other side of the pitch, or when the opposition give it to us, which is now, can you just get control? Can you turn? Can you maybe play back to your centre backs or your goalkeeper? But instead, he's just tried to continue dribble forward, ends up just poking it further forward, and just obviously we lose possession and we end up actually getting a free kick, which was all right. But we just had, again, lots of little moments like that, which you've seen in lots of other, the other games that I've shown you in this particular journey. And it's just trying to tidy up on those moments that we don't kind of lose possession of the ball too easily, just from kind of desperation of going forward. And sometimes, again, psychological stuff comes into it, because when you're in possession, when you're out of possession of the ball and you win it back, especially kids at this age and this level, they feel as though because they've been out of possession that they've got to chase the ball around, or try and do something. Or they've been chasing the ball around, they've got to do something really quickly to match that. They've not been in possession. But real good example of what we're looking for more often is winning the ball back here, which is great. And then, as I said, he's realised he's not got anything on. Just play back into your overload. Don't always have to go back to the goalkeeper, but again, you can just see now how we managed to get in full control, and we managed to get our players in the organised attacking positions that we want them in. And again, it just allows us to get in full control of the game, and then obviously look to play forward. And it's a good little bit of play, and obviously we managed to get into the opposition's half. And again, now we're looking at that 3v3. I should have actually played this clip on because we actually ended up having a shot on goal, but my apologies for that. But again, it just shows how if you get in control of the game, then you can create chances in your organised states. And like I mentioned before, apart from the little performance problems we had, we're usually quite smooth in playing out and playing in. So again, it's that constant kind of struggle and fight we seem to be having with attacking transition. But anyway, moving on to the metrics, and as you can see here, so brilliant defensive performance in terms of defensive transition and defensive organisation, which I'll get onto in a second. But again, as you can see there, the attacking organisation is down 15% from what we're looking for. That's the average. That 35% is the average of playing in and playing out. So it is down 15%. But if you look at the playing out, then 46% is like 4% below the 50% of getting into the opposition's half in the control state. So we're not a million miles off it. And like I said, I think if we'd have been as smooth as we usually are in those moments, then that would have been well above the 50%. And as you can see, the playing in's like quite down in terms of trying to get into 30%. And we ended up, obviously, I didn't mention this, we ended up winning the game 1-0 and had a lot of chances which we could have turned into other chances, but we didn't, and it was probably because of those lack of moments in playing in. And when those chances come, then they get a little bit rushed after that. So plenty to work on in terms of attacking organisation. Brilliant in defensive transition. So obviously when we did lose the ball, we were really good at getting it back really quickly. In terms of 9% over the 80% is really good. And as you can see down the bottom there, reacting and winning the ball back within 3 passes was 78%, which is a great score. Up against looking for 80%. And then obviously recovering again. Obviously we don't have as many recoveries as we do for reacting, and the recoveries are the ones where we force the ball back in 3 passes and then get into an organised state. But so that was really good in terms of forcing the opposition back. But really pleased with defensive transition, defensive organisation. Even though we've got 8% growth on that, That's still like they're really good scores in high press in terms of high press and low press. I mean, high press 72%, so 7 times out of 10 we're winning the ball back in a high press, and more or less 7 times out of 10 in a low press we're not letting the opposition get into our box and create chances. And we did limit the opposition to shots from distance, and I think they only had 2 shots on target the whole game. So really pleased with defensive transition and defensive organisation. And then again, attacking transition. But as you can see here now, and this is the kind of the struggle and the fight we have, because obviously, again, the target's 80%. That 55% is an average of possess and progress. So even though it says 25% growth, as you can see there, the possess is actually 75%. So when we do get it and we keep it and we win and we go for the possession and we go for keeping the ball and using our overload and playing into safer areas, then 75% of the time we keep it, and then we'll be able to get into attacking organisation states. But because obviously that gets dragged down because of the times that we get it and try to progress it, in the moments that I've shown you where we could actually possess it and keep it and get into an organised state where we kind of rush a little bit and try to go forward and try to kind of be a little bit impatient. Obviously in 35% miles off the target, which obviously then drags down the whole attacking transition. So again, similar to last game, we're just trying to help the boys understand that, look, we're actually quite good in attacking organisation in terms of playing out and playing in. So if we get hold of if we win the ball in attacking transition, if we win the ball in defending moments and we have possession of the ball, keep it and let's do what we're good at. And try to limit those moments where we're trying to fly forward, especially in our half or the middle areas of the pitch. Like, there's no need, just get possession of the ball and we'll keep it and we'll get organised, we'll get people in positions and then we'll attack from there. So again, a little bit of a struggle, decision making for the players, and again sometimes it can be a difficult decision for players, and like I mentioned, psychology plays a part in it as well, because when they've not had the ball for a little bit and they get it and they feel like they've kind of got to match what the opposition's been doing and try and fly forward. But again, in terms of the numbers and in terms of some of the stuff that we saw in the game was great. Really happy with some stuff, obviously, and always have things to improve on. But again, like I mentioned before, it's just great to have a little system like this, have some metrics like this, which allows you, in our opinion, it allows you to manage the to analyse the game properly, and then obviously gives you a real idea of how to shape your week, and which I mentioned before. So from this now, and obviously some of those moments I talked about down the sides with the side triangles and the rotations, that's what we're going to work on in our first session straight after this. So it just gives you clear identity and clear clarity on what you need to work, you working week, and what you need to improve on, instead of kind of just watching the game back and going, oh well, that was good and that bit was good, and getting focused on individual mistakes. Having a game plan like this with these moments and then matching it with the metrics so you can analyse it properly makes a huge difference to your coaching and a huge difference to how you can improve your team. Okay, so as I mentioned from the game with USA, obviously we moved into session number 8, which we wanted to work on attacking organisation, playing in, and in particular out of the supplies of through, around and over, we wanted to work on around because we wanted to work with the side triangles or side rotation players that we talk about, and that's our fullback, our wide forward and our attacking central midfielder on that side of the pitch. So that's kind of what we were going for in terms of session 8. So again, just a quick reminder of the game model and the 4 phases and what we're going to be working in, and in particular going to be working into that playing in opportunities to progress into the opposition's penalty area, and obviously our target is 30% of the time can we progress into the penalty area with a controlled dribble or with a controlled pass. Now, obviously playing in is the hardest part of the game, scoring goals is the hardest part of the game, and we actually from the game we just had, we actually wanted to get a little bit smoother down the sides to give us opportunities to actually dribble or pass into the penalty area. So as much as this isn't quite getting into the penalty area and having shots on goal, this is a way of us working on getting into those areas and getting into those moments where we could probably play in and progress into the area. So that's what we're going to be working on in terms of attacking organisation for this particular session. So again, playing in's all around shape, support and supply. we're going to have a more focused kind of area of support, around supply, because we're going to be looking at playing around. Obviously using that side triangle, and obviously talking about to the players about rotating in that side triangle, as well as trying to play around and play in. But obviously, like the shape and support comes into it as well. It's not just about the supply. But again, just a reminder that our mentality is to outplay opponents using 3 methods, which is through, around, or over. When we choose to play through, we will commit by either taking a shot, driving the ball, or deceiving our opponents. When we look to play around, we'll look to cross the ball early, commit a defensive line, or combine with our teammates. And finally, when we decide to play over, we will aim to pass the ball over the opposition defensive line using either a dink or a driven pass. Focus is to maintain the correct structure around the ball, allowing us to sustain attacks while preventing counter-attack opportunities. So that's just getting distances right from defensive line to attacking line, so there's not space in between where teams can attack and get the ball and play. We good in defensive transition, or we can close the gaps quickly in defensive transition and make sure we sustain those attacks. And obviously the objective is to get into the ball into the opposition's 18-yard box in a controlled state, and this can be done by a shot on target, a pass across, or a dribble, and obviously the target is 30%. And again, just a quick reminder about the three S's and what that means, and the shape, and in particular what we're going to work on in terms of that side triangle and the shape. So obviously making sure that they start in the right shape, and getting into the right shape as quick as possible in 3 to 5 seconds. For this particular side triangle, it's obviously fullback in the wide channel, wide forward in the wide channel as well, and then obviously our attacking midfielder in that inside channel, or that half space channel as we like to call it a little bit, and obviously making sure that they start in that shape, but they can obviously move within that shape, and they can support each other in that shape, and obviously having supporting angles of beyond, beside and below, making runs all the time, which is one of the performance problems that we talked about and I showed you on the video, about how our wide forward didn't make the run, didn't make that run beyond, which he could have done and got the ball and probably an opportunity to cross it, and then obviously the supply, in terms of what we're looking for and opportunities to play through, around, or over, we're going to focus on around. So now the first practice we're going to do, and what I wanted to touch on here in terms of this practice number 1 in being a technical practice. Now this is a little bit of Marcelo Bielsa inspired from the time that we had at Leeds United when Marcelo Bielsa was the first team coach, and just some of the stuff that he used to work on with the first team all the time, which filtered down into the 23s, 18s, and then obviously into the rest of the academy, and just some really interesting kind of concepts that he had around, especially in these wide areas, in this particular like wide or side triangle that we talk about, and in particular around double passes and third man combinations. So Bielsa used to talk about double passes and third man combinations. Effectively, if we talk about double passes first, he used to say there was 10 ways to play a double pass, and a double pass is where the first player who has the ball plays a pass and then receives the second pass from another player. And he had 10 particular ways of doing that, and we're going to work on these particular ways here, as we see these more than any other ones. And effectively, it's all about an initial pass, some movement, and then the second pass. And there's 10 of these double passes, because obviously, like, the movement can either be towards the outside of the pitch or it can be towards the inside of the pitch. For each particular one, and then when he talked about third man combinations as well, it was a very similar thing. He talked about how there was actually 12 ways to have a third man combination, and that was when the third player would receive the second pass. So that would be an initial pass, some movement, and a second pass, and then the third player would receive that second pass. But it was really interesting, and we try to use these a lot, and I try to use these a lot, and there's lots of different ways of doing it. But here's an example of Leeds United first team doing one of the particular ones we're going to do. And what we decided to do in this particular practice is we were going to work on 2 types of double pass, which you just saw there, and 3 types of third man combinations. Just because that's kind of what we feel as though we see the most, and we didn't have enough time to obviously work on all 10 double passes and 12 third mans, so we just decided that we were going to work on the ones that we see the most. But this is a particular one that we were working on. So again, what you'll see here is initial pass, and obviously is a vertical pass, and then the second pass is a horizontal one with diagonal movement in between. So you'll see it again here. So initial pass, is a vertical one there, diagonal movement, and then a horizontal pass, which you could see from your fullback and your wide forward down the side of the pitch. So fullback plays it down the side of the pitch to the wide forward, makes a run inside, and then the wide forward plays it back. Same again here. Midfielder could make this pass to the wide forward on the inside, and then make a little run into the wide channel. So this is just a particular one of the double passes that we tend to see all the time. And as you can see, it was one that Leeds United first team worked on particularly a lot in their time with under Bielsa, and with the third man combinations as well. And then again, obviously, you need to transfer this into games. So again, all these double passes that Leeds United first team used to come out in the games all the time. But this is what I was talking about. So full back on the ball here, wide forward out wide, playing into a central midfielder now with the vertical pass, diagonal run on the inside, and then a little horizontal pass to get on the other end of it as well. And if you watch Leeds in the Bielsa era, then they were fantastic at this type of stuff, and they were brilliant at the third man type of stuff as well. So it's just, and I remember Bielsa saying, kind of to not at Leeds United, but just to the public, how he feels that double passes and third man combinations are kind of the most unutilised thing in the modern game, and that's why he kind of worked on them and stuff, and that's kind of why we try to carry that forward as well, and work on them as well, and especially in those wide areas. In those side triangles that we talk about, and like I mentioned in the game clips that I've shown you in terms of that game review, whether it's a 3v2 or a 3v3, double passes and third man combinations could be really interesting to break those little moments down. And when you've got an overload, it's obviously a little bit easier in terms of like a 3v2, but when it's 3v3 or even 2 versus 3, then you need to be creative, and you need to have good ideas around how you can break that down, and obviously get into areas where you could possibly get a crossing or get a shot away or get into the penalty area. So this is how we decided to work on this particular. Listen, there's lots of different ways you can work on these things in terms of the double passes and stuff. We just decided to work on in this particular way, just because it was nice and quick. You can get through each one. We were going to do 5, so we wanted to get through each one 3 minutes max. So it was like 15, 20 minutes max in terms of a technical practice. So we just did it in the most simple way that we could, in terms of and as you can see, this practice set up here now. So we were going to work on 2 types of double passes, and 3 types of third man combinations. So again, we used half a pitch. We had 14 players, so we split the players into 2 groups. So whoever played on the right hand side of the pitch, and whoever played on the left hand side of the pitch, and even including centre backs. And we obviously gave the centre forward and our defensive midfielder the option of which side they wanted to work on. But again, 3 minutes. So because they're in small groups, they probably got through 3 or 4 reps for each one. And again, it took 15 to 20 minutes, but this is the most straightforward way of doing it. There's lots of other ways you can do it. You can do it where you just have kind of one combination, and then players cross a ball in for other players to run onto and finish. We did it a lot at Leeds United, where you do one of the combinations and then you'd have a finish on goal to keep the kids more interested than doing it this way. But like I said before, like when we do it this way, I always say to the players, look, we're going to spend 3 minutes on each one, and then we're going to move into a skill practice where we can see if you can do that, or get these going in a skill practice when it is 3v3. So just have a look at the boys doing it for real. Like I mentioned before, I'm not going to show you all 5. I'm just going to show you a couple of ones. So this is the double pass. This is the vertical pass. Diagonal movement, and then a horizontal pass that you can see the players working through here. And we just did it in that same area, and we just had a cone instead of a mannequin. But again, you can relate this to the game in terms of, I always talk about like a fullback playing down the side of the pitch to a wide forward and then making a run on the inside. It could be where the fullback plays into the midfielder, makes a run on the outside and diagonal run on the outside and gets the ball back. And you can always, and we talk to the boys about where you might see these and kind of like the players and the positions that might use these particular actions and what they might see and stuff. But and again, 3 minutes, and we just got the boys to go through as many times as they could in 3 minutes, which was probably about 4 or 5 reps per one. But obviously, they're doing 4 or 5 reps per one anyway, and we just asked them to try and concentrate on that quality and making sure that quality of the pass, especially the one-touch one, and just making sure that they're sprinting in terms of like the movement that they make, because obviously that then makes the passer concentrate a little bit more in terms of what the quality of pass they have to get. So the third man stuff. So this one was it's a diagonal pass back, and it's a diagonal split run, and then obviously a vertical pass. So as you'll see here, so the initial pass is going to come back, and obviously then diagonal split run through the two players that are playing it, and then a vertical pass forward again. So again, this is all about, as you can see now, a third player is receiving that second pass. So it's not the first player receiving the second pass again, it's a third player now receiving the second pass, and that's obviously what makes it into a third man combination. But this is a particularly good one because we talk about this all the time in terms of, that could be a fullback making a run forward in between centre back and opposition centre back and fullback. Could be a midfield player, balls with the fullback now, a midfield player making that run in between, or that run in that half space again. So the other third man we did a overlap and underlap third man combination this time. So this was initial horizontal pass and then a diagonal pass, and obviously in this particular case an overlap on the outside of the pitch. So the players work the same one all the way through, and then the next time they just play the ball the opposite way. So then obviously they were making an underlap on the inside of the pitch, and the next time they go as well. So again, just getting players to kind of like understand that, like making those runs, making those underlapping runs, and it could be like fullback plays the ball inside to midfielder, or fullback plays the ball inside to the wide forward, and then obviously midfielder makes an overlap. Could be, as I said, like the wide forward who's, if you're rotating in those side triangles as well, it could be a wide forward who plays the initial pass, midfielder plays the diagonal pass to a fullback making an overlapping run as well. But again, whenever we talk about the side triangles that we are down the sides of the pitch, and that's a player playing around, and if you get yourselves in a 3v2 or a 3v3, what are the sort of ideas you have, and or what sort of things can you do to be creative and try and outplay those situations. And again, double passes, or 1-2s if you want to call them 1-2s, but double passes and third man combinations we find are really good for that. Okay, so after that we moved into practice 2, which was a skill practice. So again, when you move from a technical practice to a skill practice, we just talked to the players about possibly can you take what you've just done in the technical practice and put it to test against opposition. And this just particular practice is just as you can see here. So we just took a moment of the game where you've got centre back starting the playoff. You've got your 3 players on each side of the pitch in terms of fullbacks, midfielders and wide forwards against the opposition fullbacks, midfielders and wide forwards in a 3v3. And all we're looking for is the red team to move the ball into the end zone, whether that's via a dribble or via a pass and moving onto it. And we just had a little point system that if they could get the initial one now off the centre back and play into the end zone, they get 2 points. If they actually had to play back to the centre back in part of this, then got into the end zone, they only get 2 points. But again, just a little game, just a little 3v3 game effectively in this area of the pitch, where we're trying to help players understand that they can support each other by rotating and moving into different positions, and obviously then we're asking them to do the combinations of double passes and third man stuff that we've just worked on in the technical practice. But then we're also asking players to be adaptive, and sometimes there's an opportunity where the centre back could receive a pass and play over the top into that end zone for a player making a move. There's lots of 1v1 moments in this, and 1v1 outplaying moments in this. So we ask players if we can do that sort of thing as well. But again, it's just a skill practice where we are trying to get the players to, one, be creative in terms of what they've just worked on. And obviously be creative themselves in terms of that 1v1 stuff as well. And listen, you might do this, like for example, like we used half a pitch for this, and we used 14 players, and we just played 4 games at 3 minutes. So if we've effectively in that 12 minutes of them playing, then we just ask them to, how many entries can you get into that end zone in terms of the 3v3, and you might only see like little bits of what you've worked on in the technical practice, but if you see 1 or 2 moments from that on each side of the pitch in each 3v3, then kind of that's a real plus, because this is difficult. Playing in is difficult. Scoring goals is difficult. It's the hardest part to do, and you got to remember that like when you're playing out, you've got an overload. As soon as you get into the opposition half and you're playing in, you start to play against equal numbers and underload. So it's just giving players like ideas of what they can do and trying to tap into that creative side of that they should have themselves as well. But let's have a look at the players doing this for real. And like I mentioned, you only get a couple of moments from the technical practice, but here's the setup in terms of like how it works. So centre back just played the ball in there, as you can see. Like, so it's 3 reds against 3 greens. They're all in the positions, and obviously you're just trying to get into that end zone, which that particular player gets onto now. So that was a relatively good example of a third man run. Obviously, good little bit of shield in there, and then obviously allows the player to get in the end. But that's how it works. You're just trying to get from the centre back, obviously, into the area at the end. So good example of one of the double passes here. So little horizontal pass, and then obviously like a little diagonal run, and then a little vertical pass down the side. So opportunity there for him to get a double pass in and play in. And again, just lots of moments to be obviously able to play out. And in fact, if I just wind that back there as well, that would have been a good moment, a good third man moment as well. So from the double pass, obviously as this is our wide forward on it now, he's played into our attacking midfield. If that pass goes down the side, then obviously that would have been a good third man combination as well. But another third man combination, this time from the centre back. As you can see, the full back's kind of on his way, and he's moved, and he's going to get this second pass now from the wide forward, which is a great pass into that end zone. So again, you're just looking for those little moments. So like, even though that wasn't the side triangle that we kind of Blue Sky had in mind, that was still a similar thing from centre back into wide forward. Full back makes the run, full back picks up the second pass. So obviously double pass and third man combinations can happen all over the pitch. We're just trying to give the players some ideas of how to get into the opposition's penalty area, playing around via those things. But yeah, and we've got lots of stuff coming on Bielsa in the coming months, and lots of stuff that he did at Leeds in our time there, which was very similar to what we've just shown you, but some fantastic stuff and just different stuff to get you thinking about practices and different things to help your players. Okay, so let's get into session 9, which obviously we split the group in half. So the defenders worked on some defensive organisation stuff around low press. You could look at it like that. And then the attacking players worked on a little bit more of attacking organisation, playing in terms of 1v1 side and back pressure and finishing on goal. So let's get into, and obviously this is like an individual development thing, or individual development plan, because obviously even though it's defensive organisation, working with individuals, and then obviously a little bit of the unit as well. So but let's get into what we actually did. So in terms of what the defenders were up to, practice 1 was all about individual technique. And obviously we relate this back to our youth model and our out of possession performance wheel, which is all about scan, move, dictate, defend. We actually had a focus on movement and effectively adjusting footwork and body shape in relation to the ball and the attacker. So obviously all the other things come into it as well, but we just wanted to work with the players around their footwork and their body shape in terms of in individual kind of situations, and then obviously as a unit as well. So the first practice we did with the players was just a real straightforward kind of practice where they're just working like 1v1 defending, like not winning possession of the ball, but they're just working around footwork and movement and body shape, depending on what the attacker's doing. So there was 2 parts of this. So the first part was the defender was just gonna effectively, what they did was like the players, like as you can see there, the red and the white player. So the red player, who's obviously going to be the attacking player, is just going to dribble the ball and move the ball from left to right. The white player is just going to organise their footwork and the body shapes. They're going to be moving backwards and obviously moving their footwork and the body shape in relation to the ball. And they just move all the way down to the area size wasn't as big as that, and I'll get into that in a second. But they just move down the area and then they come back and then they swap over and go again. So there's 2 techniques to it. So the first one was the defender maintains the body shape and guides the attacker towards a specific foot. So effectively the defender stays the same way and just keeps trying to get the defender back onto that foot that could be the non-dominant foot in a game, but just working with defenders on the footwork and the body shape of keeping them on that same foot. And then the second one was the defender changes the body shape to force the attacker to use either left or the right foot. So just changing just changing the body shape, so from being obviously staying side on, moving the footwork, and then if the attacker shifts the ball onto the left foot, they'll keep them on the left foot. If the attacker shifts it onto the right foot, they'll keep it on the right foot. This will all become a little bit more evident when I show you the boys doing it for real. We actually used a small area size, so we just used an 8 by 32, so 32 yards long, 8 yards wide. We had, I think there was about 5 or 6 players in pairs, and they just had about 3 or 4. They had 4 reps per technique each, which took about probably a little bit more than 4 to 6 minutes, maybe 6 to 10 minutes. But let's have a look at the boys doing it for real. Oh, and so sorry. The second practice we did was, which was part 2, was again around footwork and body shape, and this was just kind of obviously moving with the attacker, and then when the attacker changed direction, organising your footwork and body shape to stay chest to chest or face to face, and then they'd have a little race down to the bottom line, and I'll show you in the little animation that's going to play here now. And it's just, as I said, it's just a real straightforward practice. But if you can imagine a wide forward running down the side of the pitch. And then obviously changing and driving on the inside of the pitch, and just getting the defender not to turn his back on the ball and just turn face to face and chest to chest. Or for example, if the attacker's running in the inside the pitch and then changes to go the outside again, it's the same thing. So just changing and again going face to face and chest to chest. And again, I'll show you in a second when the boys do it for real. But again, we use a small area size, 16 by 32 again, just so we didn't have to change the area size. From the first practice to this practice. Again, players in pairs. I think there's about 6 players in pairs, 4 reps per player, and then obviously which did take about 4 to 6 minutes. We were a little bit strapped for area in this particular practice for the whole team. We only had half a pitch, and obviously we wanted the players, the attacking players, to work in the centre of the pitch to the goal. So we were to one side, so we didn't have a large area size for this. But let's have a look at those 2 practices. And the boys doing it for real. So obviously this is counter movement skills, which working around body shape and footwork. So obviously part 1 was just getting the boys to make sure that they're moving as nice and smoothly with the ball, as you can see here. So they'll just stay the same way, so they won't move, they won't change the body shape, they'll just keep the footwork, they're just keeping that attacker on his same foot. So even though he's moving the ball from side to side, they'll just adjust and make sure they're still showing him back onto that foot that they're dribbling with. And as I said, like just in pairs, 6 players in 3 pairs, and just having 3 or 4 reps each. But as you can see here from these 2 going now, he's not changing his body shape. He's just moving his footwork to keep him, even though he's trying to shift the ball on the other side. He's just moving his body and making sure that he keeps it to that same foot. So part 2, this time, okay, it was all about moving the body shape. So as you can see here, players, especially from the 2 on the nearest side now. So every time the ball moves now, he's just moving his body shape and his footwork to stay face to face with the attacker, not turning his back on the ball, stay face to with the attacker and just move in. Whichever way the attacker moves the ball, he'll just move his body shape. And again, just getting the players used to moving that body shape, moving those feet nice and quickly to deal with those 1v1 situations. So last one, as you can see here, so if an attacker's driving down the side and drives on the inside, just getting the players now, and they'll do it 3 or 4 reps, but they'll just get in the players now, as you can see from these 2 who are working, okay, and you can see the defender just turns face to face, chest to chest, not turning his back on the ball, because that can give the attacker the opportunity to turn again quickly when the back's turned. So just getting players used to using their footwork and body shape to move and stay face to face and chest to chest with the ball, and not turning the back on the ball. And because that's a situation we don't want, because as soon as you turn your back on the ball as a defender, that gives the attacker the opportunity to shift the ball the other way, and then you could end up having to turn your back again and end up in a really difficult 1v1 situation. Whereas if you turn face to face, it's difficult when players aren't used to it, but once they get used to it, it's a real good technique for 1v1 defending. Okay, so moving on to practice 2 in terms of unit work and a technical practice. So again, because we're a little bit strapped for space, we ended up doing it a little bit on the side of the pitch. But effectively, this was just, and you'll have probably seen lots of teams doing this in their pre-match warm-up in terms of like a back four together, and just working on a little bit of cover and balance. And the idea is that, for example, like with the coach has got the ball here now, and the back four is obviously in front, so the coach is just going to drop the ball to one of the players who's going to come out and meet the ball, and then obviously the rest of the players are just going to fill those gaps and close the gaps, just moving across the pitch and closing the gaps. So as you can see here now, as the number 2 gets it there, the right full back, everyone else comes across and shifts and just closing the gaps, not leaving huge gaps in between people. when they go out to deal with the ball. And this could be the same situation in a 1v1 as the coach is doing now. So if he's driving towards the players or even just playing a pass, one comes and deals with it, the rest kind of fill the gaps again, and that could be fullbacks or it could be centre-backs. And then the second part of this was we're just working on a little bit of cover and balance. So if the ball goes in behind or down the side of the fullback, centre-half gets across to deal with it, fullback comes on the inside to cover the space. Same on both sides. And then we just worked on, like, if the ball goes over one centre-back's head, the other centre-back goes and deals with it, and then the other centre-back comes in and covers the space that he's left. And that can depend a little bit on centre-forward's movement. So if centre-forward goes in between the two centre-backs, kind of like on a diagonal run, so if he's on the number 5 player in that picture and he goes in between the two centre backs on a diagonal in behind the number 4, the number 5 goes with him and the ball over the top, and then the number 4 comes and closes the space. And it's the same as well as if it's on the number 4 and he goes in behind the number 5, then obviously they'll go with him and obviously fill the space. And then the only other one we talked about as well was if the centre back, so if the obviously opposition centre forward is on the white number 5 in that picture. If he goes across the number 4 and then into the space between fullback and centre back, then they talk to each other and the number 4 would go, and then just everyone else would come across. So we talked about those situations as well. As I said, it's just getting players used to, and it's the same with aerial duels as well. So for the first part, so if the fullback's going to win a header, everybody else comes across. Centre back comes to win a header, everybody closes the space behind. Just keeping the gaps closed and keeping it nice and tight between players. And nice and tight between the defenders, and just helping them understand kind of those little scenarios and how they help each other out with a bit of cover and balance. So ideally we'd have used obviously like full width of the penalty area and just outside the penalty box, and obviously 4 players in the back 4, and we do 8 actions per part, but we were stuck in a little corner, which you'll see in a second when I show the video. So we did it in a small space, as you'll be able to see here. And then for the second part, in terms of the unit, and obviously where, if runners are moving beyond and who goes and who covers, then we just walked through that and we just talked about it. But again, as you'll see here, and I talked to players as well about having that side-on body shape as much as possible, depending where the ball is. So if the ball's with the full-back here now, obviously you can see the 2 centre-backs facing the full-back with the body shape. And obviously coming around to cover, and everybody just keeps covering the space that gets left when one steps out. So, and as you see, when the ball goes into the fullback here now, oh, not that one. Yeah, if the ball goes in, when the ball goes into the fullbacks, the centre backs always like have the body shape where they're facing that particular fullback, and they're not facing the other way. And that's a difficult thing for centre backs, obviously, because they're moving across the pitch and they've got to get the body shape right for wherever the ball is. And obviously that side-on body shape as well just allows them, as you can see there, facing the right back, then spinning around facing the full back. So, and that side-on body shape, as I was about to mention there, that side-on body shape just allows players to move forward if they need to quickly, or move backwards if they need to quickly, rather than being square on, and obviously square facing the play. Because what we find as well is, like, if they're side on, they can go backwards by pushing off the front foot quickly, and they can come forwards by pushing off the back foot quickly, rather than being square and then having to move one of the feet to go backwards or forwards. So and then and after that, the little bit of cover and balance work we did in terms of like opposition movement, and if the ball goes over the top, we just walked through it. We just talked about it again, just because we were limited to the amount of space that we had. Okay, and final part of session 9 was the attacking players, just working on some attacking organisation and playing in kind of stuff. So again, like, it was just we split the group up. Half went and did some half the players went and did some defending stuff, and then obviously attacking players did some attacking stuff. And it is all around obviously playing in, because obviously they're looking to shoot on goal in the technical practice that we were doing with the players as well. So let's get into exactly what they were doing. So practice one was obviously a technical practice around the youth model stuff in possession. So we looked at our in possession performance wheel and kind of what we felt the players kind of needed as a last little kind of little bit before they went to Hawaii. So obviously our in possession performance wheel is all about scan, move, receive, release. We obviously decided that we were going to do some receiving skills around closed body, so obviously receiving on the front foot, protecting the ball, and then finding a way into space, and then obviously releasing part was going to be hopefully a quality shot on target. So we were working mainly around receiving and releasing in that performance wheel. But like we usually do, we related it back to our foundation model and the brilliant basics, and 1v1 take-ons, side and back pressure. So as you can see there at the side, on the right hand side, those 12 kind of actions or skills that we talk about when it's 1v1 take on, side and back pressure. So the boys just worked through all those 12 skills, or well, there's 6 skills because you work them on both feet. They worked, obviously it's 12 actions overall. So, and the boys just worked through those in a practice where they got to finish on goal as well. So this is how the practice worked in terms of what we decided to do. So we just had a small area, kind of just about around the width of the 6-yard box, just outside the penalty area, and all was going to happen was the player, the serving player, played the ball into the attacking player, who had a passive defender directly behind them. They were just going to spin out of that situation using one of the 12 actions from 1v1 side and back pressure, and then obviously finish on goal as well. And then the rotation was that the server would become the attacker would become the passive defender would grab the ball and come and be the server. And we just worked through all 12 of those actions there. But again, area size was, well, we've got it down as 30 by 44, so 30 yards long, 44 wide. So width of the penalty area wide, it's actually probably just outside the width of the 6-yard box. But we had about 8 or 9 players working this practice. They did 2 or 3 reps per player, so they got plenty of reps, plenty of opportunity to shoot on goal, which took about 20 minutes overall. But let's have a look at the players doing this live. I won't go through obviously all 12 of the actions. I'll just pick out a couple. And it's all around seize, skills and closed body, which I'll just pause it there, which is what players in attacking positions find themselves in all the time. So again, if you're a wide forward, if you're a centre forward, if you're an attacking midfield player, then you'll find yourselves in these situations all the time, especially when you're in that attacking organisation, playing in moment, that team, that game model moment. Then obviously individually, you're outnumbered, well, you're underloaded, or you are equal numbers. So you have to be comfortable with side and back pressure, and you have to get really comfortable with these little actions, these little skills. The first one we're going to look at is first time touch with the outside of the left foot. So particularly good example from this player here on the left hand side. So good little touch around the corner with his left foot, and then obviously a quality finish on goal as well. Same from the other side, a little bit further touch out this time, but again got himself a good strike on goal. So next one we're going to look at is first time touch with the inside of the right foot. So again, little first time touch into the space around the defender, and obviously a good finish on goal. Again, same from the right hand side with a good strike on goal this time, but a little touch just to get away. And the last one we're going to look at is this is a touch to draw the defender in. So a little touch to the inside of the right foot, outside of the right foot to turn away from the defender, and then obviously a quality finish on goal. But again, that one's just a touch to draw the defender closer to you, and then as soon as he comes a little bit closer or to one shoulder, you just spin out into the space and get your shot away on target. So. But again, like those were the particular little moments that we wanted to work on with the players, and just as I said, try and fine tune a little bit from the games that we've had, whether the ball's going into them in terms of a playing out moment, where it's going into those players, where it's going into those wide forwards or centre forwards or attacking midfielders. They can still use those actions, whether it's going into them in a playing out moment to get over the halfway line, or in this particular moment when it's playing in and they're looking to get into that releasing part of finishing on goal. But again, receiving skills, closed body, under pressure, relating it back to the foundation model and the brilliant basics, and then obviously the releasing part of getting a quality shot on goal. Okay, and lastly, part of session number 9 was attacking organisation and just some set plays around attacking corners. And these are real straightforward guys, real simple. But we just wanted to make sure that the boys are organised in terms of, or they had a couple of ideas what they could do in terms of attacking corners from the right side and the left side, and just being aware of kind of defensive responsibilities as well. So in terms of a setup, so in terms of attacking corner, in terms of the right side, obviously we'd get a left footer to take it on that particular side. We'd have 3 players in a line, so looking to get we're going to play the ball towards the back post. So looking to get that front player who's at the front of that line, where it says move early, to move all the way around to the back post. We'd have a blocker just behind him just to block his mark so we can free him up. So we spoke to the blockers about, don't being overly aggressive, don't grab, pull shirts, etc. Just kind of, if he moves early, just stand in the way just to give him that little bit of space where he can get round the back and create a bit of a problem. The third player in that particular line would just go across the front post to take his marker away. We'd have a player on the goalkeeper, and then we'd have a player kind of utilising the space at the back, and he'd just make a move in towards the goalkeeper to take his mark a little bit further in, and again just to create that space round the back. And he could act as a bit of a second blocker if the first blocker doesn't quite get it right. But he can just stand in the way again and just give that player who we're trying to get an opportunity to a little bit more time and space. Obviously, because the corner's on that side, we need to be aware of the danger if the ball goes all the way over the top or all the way over the back, and where that danger is. So we'd always have two players on the edge of the box in terms of players. So if it comes out of the first phase, then they're there for the second phase to either get control or play it back in. And then we'd obviously have two players kind of in and around the halfway line and make sure that's a +1. So if the opposition had one up, that's perfect. If they had two up, we'd drop another player and just go to one player on the edge of the box. But again, it's just about being organised and giving the boys a little bit of an idea of what they can do from a corner on the right side of the pitch. And I've left these blank, but we would fill these in with either numbers of the players, or we'd fill them in with their initials, so they know exactly where they are and exactly what they're doing. But this is how it kind of works in real time. And again, real straightforward. And I'll just pause it on the moments that we're going to look at here. So we'd have a lefty taking the corner just as he's about to take it. In fact, I'll just take that back a little bit. Oops. Just take that back to there. As you can see, so the players are in a line in the box there. Player at the front's moving early. The man behind him is a blocker. He's going to block his run. And as he moves, everybody just clears that space at the back. Good ball to the back, and then obviously a good opportunity to score a goal. So that was the first example. Again, another one, good example of where we've managed to create some space for him, managed to get the blocks right, and then he's just got an opportunity at the back to score, to have a free opportunity, whether it's a free header or a volley like a one before. But again, it's just all about coordinating and just getting that one player in that space, and obviously you are relying on the quality of the delivery as well. But that's what we were going to do from the right hand side. From the left hand side, in terms of an attacking corner, we were going to have a right footer obviously taking this. We'd have four players collectively on the edge of the box, on the edge of the box, just inside the box. We'd have two players, or one player initially going across the front post. We'd have one player moving towards the goalkeeper. That blocker now is going to block the marker of the player who's going to go across the front post, and then the other player would move around the back just to take his marks away. And again, we'd have one player on the goalkeeper. So this particular corner from the left hand side was going to come into the near post for that one player coming across the front post, and again trying to create a free opportunity and a free chance for them again. So we'd have two players on the edge of the box, again, and then we'd have two players in and around the halfway line to create that +1, being aware of the danger being on that far side if the ball went over the top. What we did in terms of, I haven't got an example to show you of the short option, but what we did as an example of a short option was one of the two players on the edge of the penalty area would come for the short option. The other one would come across to fill the space. And then the player who was receiving it has got a choice. He can either play a whipped ball towards the back post, or he could shape to do that and then have a little bit of disguise and reverse the ball back into the original corner taker, who's just going to move along the line and hopefully stay on side. I haven't got an example of that, but we've got an example of the first one. And again, it's just getting players organised and helping players understand that if you are organised, you can create opportunities for that. We can create free opportunities for that one particular player. So let me just pause it here again now. So as you can see on the right hand side of the screen there, so we've got our two players on the edge of the box, and then obviously we've got those four players together and one player on the goalkeeper. Again, moving early, so the player who's moved early, his mark's going to be blocked just now, so he's free there. Look, front post, great ball in, and a good opportunity. He actually misses the first one, and it goes in from the second player who's moving in there as well. But this is the better example. Great ball at the front post, good header, and a good goal. So again, you're just trying to create, or you're just trying to free up those just one particular player where they can get a free opportunity on goal. But that's how we did it, and it's like, as I said, it's nothing elaborate, real straightforward, but just making sure that the boys are organised and making sure that they understand they can create goal scoring opportunities from set plays if they get it all right. Okay, so this is how everything looked in the kind of the final prep week in terms of the plan. So obviously we've just gone through session 8 and 9, which was the Monday and the Tuesday, as you can see on there. And then after that, Wednesday and Thursday were going to be travel days. So that was when the players had the opportunity to get themselves over to Hawaii. A lot of the players went on Wednesday, but a few went on Thursday as well. And then obviously Friday the tournament starts. So we had our first game was against a team called Three Rivers from Washington State. Saturday was game 2 against Alaska Rush, and Sunday was game 3 against Hawaii Rush. Then the Monday was going to be off, and then the quarterfinals would roll from Tuesday, semi-finals Wednesday, final on Thursday, and then obviously everybody travels home on the Friday. So that was kind of like the weekly, like final kind of prep plan in terms of what we did, and then when we travelled and what we have or had coming up. Okay guys, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you're brand new to us, please make sure you hit the subscribe button. If you liked the video, please make sure you give it a like. Any comments, questions, we do get back to everybody, or we try to get back to everybody. And we do love hearing from you, whether it's about what we've kind of presented and how it can help you, or if you've got any ideas that you would do differently or anything like that, feedback or anything that we'd like to hear from you. We really appreciate all that type of stuff. And then coming in week number 10 is got a couple of game reviews from our first 2 games that we had over in Hawaii against the Three Rivers and Alaska Rush. So two game reviews in the next particular coaching journey in week 10. But until then, thank you very much, and we'll see you soon.